So do you think that the declines in acceptance rates are rare or common phenomenon among UK universities?
It's definitely very unusual. It's very odd. Previously, if we look at the statistic, there's always a parallel increase in both the number of offers and the number of applications. So the more people applying to universities, the more offers that they are making, as long as they don't go above and beyond the capacity. Right? But because of A-levels, cancellations, and they become teacher assessed, it has a domino effect on that.
Do you want to elaborate more about that,
Right.
the teacher assessed at A-level?
If you remember from last summer, the A-level fiasco, thousands of students at the very last minute have their grades marked up. And a lot of universities, they don't know what to do. They have to accept them because many of them have met the grade requirements,
exactly.
right? And once they give out their offer and the students have met the requirements, the conditions, they have to honor it. They have to accept these students. So that's why last year we're seeing that some universities, they have to accept more than a third of students than what they originally planned for. So this year, when they are about to face the same problem, they don't know what to do. They are a bit worried about the capacity issue. That's why I would say a lot of them have to be very cautious in giving out offers. Some universities, I would say, they still can increase the entry requirements, right? So they make it harder for students to get in. But for elite universities, say Oxford and Cambridge and top London universities, the requirements are already so high, right? They are already requiring 3 A stars from students, right? There's very little room for maneuver for them. So the fallback strategy, unfortunately, is to make fewer offers.
So how do you think that this strategy of reducing enrollment is likely to be effective?
Right, I would say it really depends on the situation of COVID-19 and how it is going to develop, right? As long as exams are not back to normal and we are still undergoing a teacher-assessed A-levels or other public exams results, then it's very hard for us to go back to the old days. So we will still expect a lot of uncertainties and challenges in the UK higher education landscape.
So in the case of teacher assessed A-level, what are the ways to cope with this new normal and increase the chance for getting a place for students' favorite university, let's say elite universities?
Right, this is a very popular question from students and parents. To be very honest, they are at loss of what to do, right? I would say on one hand, there's an intense demand from students to study in the UK, right? On the other hand, there's capacity issue, very serious capacity issue at universities to take them in, right? So the competition is going to be very tough. I would say from our observations, there will be an increased focus on the admissions exam results. This is one way where universities can evaluate students of their readiness academically to study their chosen choice. So admissions tests will be very important. For courses or universities who do not require admissions tests, I would say a very well-structured personal statement and a very good reference from the school will be extremely important.
Great. So now is almost the time for students to start preparing for admissions for the 2022 fall, right? So how should students develop a university application strategy regarding to the situation right now and let's say a rough timeline, because we all know that studying abroad, timeline is a really important thing, right?
So at the edge, myself and my colleagues are getting really busy preparing for the 2022 cycle. And I would say UCAS has set a deadline on the 26th of January 2022 for the intake of 2022 cycle. But my advice is, do get yourself prepared ASAP. Don't wait until the very last moment. A lot of students are enjoying their summertime now. They have a lot of free time to work on their applications, right? So I would suggest them to start preparing for their personal statement. They could practice their admissions exam. don't wait till the last minute. And by November, if they can get their application ready and submitted, they can have a peace of mind, right? They can get the burden out of their head and continue to focus on their studies and assessment at school.
So it's like only 5 months left. It's not a really long time, actually.
No,
right?
it isn't, right?
So in the face of the changing epidemic situation that probably gonna change from time to time, and the application requirements and procedure that might be adjusted at any time, how should students actually adjust their mentality?
Right. I would say instead of regarding COVID as a dreadful enemy, I know we don't like it, but unfortunately we have to learn how to live with it. Honestly, I think it's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. So we have to embrace the new normal. And you're very right about the changing requirements and all the timeline shifts. So students are advised to really keep an eye on the latest announcement, right? And make use of all the resources available to them. I mean, they can hire external counselor like myself. I'm very happy to help. But at the same time, do seek help from the teachers, the parents, the school, and remember they are not alone in this.
Sure. How the Edge could help in this case?
Right, I would say the Edge has 3 pillars that we work together very closely to help our students to get to where they want to be. For me, I'm responsible for admissions consulting, so I help people and my students to strategize the application. So in terms of school list, in terms of course selection, how it should match up with the students' passion, strengths, and abilities. I think that's very important. And after we have fixed their goals, then we work very hard towards the application. How do they prepare for the personal statement? How should they prepare for the admission exam in some cases, where I will pull in the other pillar from the Edge, where we have test prep tutors who can help them to practice exams. And in some cases, if I see some discrepancies in the students' grades when I compare to the entry requirements of the universities, then I will pull in another pillar of the Edge, which is the academic tutoring team, who can help with their IBs and A-level studies to really brush up their grades. So the 3 pillars work very closely together, really to help the student to stand out, to match the requirements, and really to maneuver and navigate the very complex and uncertain time right now.
So it's a one-stop resolution.
Right.